What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with Hog Sports coming to you from Razorback Stadium. This beautiful new sod that they've put down. 15 practices in the books for the Razorback preseason. 13 days out from the season opener against North Alabama. KJ Jackson named the starter today. So let's talk about that. Let's go position by position because we haven't done a walk and talk since SEC football media days, and we've got 12 more of these after this one. But I think it's really just the consistency. It's not like he did these dynamic plays day after day that separated him. I think just more consistency. They liked some of the stuff they did in the situational drills that they put him out in. And yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise to me at all. I've felt the whole time that KJ Jackson was going to be named the starter, and it's not anything against AJ. I just feel like he's got some more progress to make. He's still a very young player, needs to improve mechanics and footwork and things like that. But I think it's ultimately just consistency. And let's go position by position. Let's start with running back. Braylon Russell and Sutton Smith are definitely going to be your starting running backs. And I could see them getting a similar amount of touches. Sutton probably a few more catches, Braylon probably a few more carries. And, you know, some of the stuff can depend on, you know, those guys get banged up from time to time also. But Braylon looks to me as good as he has ever looked at 227 pounds. He was listed at 238 last year. I think he was significantly heavier than that, just judging by what 227 looks like on him. Sutton brings a lot of playmaking ability to the backfield, and I think Markeelan Batten has really come along also as a guy to watch. But Cam Settles is probably your third back. You know, Jasper Parker can do some things. Want to see him get a little bit more consistent as a receiver. At wide receiver, the more camp has gone on these last few days, we've started to see some separation with Chris Marshall. He had a long touchdown catch in the scrimmage, had a good scrimmage, won also. And he's just, you know, you can tell by the way the coaches and especially the players talk about him, you know, just kind of being a beast for him. Definitely seems like he's the go-to guy. Wide receiver is the one area on this team where I could see them being better on offense than they were last year. You know, the offense gets a lot of hell because, you know, they didn't win games and stuff, but so much of that was on the defense, and then the offense turning the ball over. I mean, they were, what, minus 11 in the turnover department. That's what got Arkansas's offense beat. It wasn't because they couldn't protect or they couldn't throw or run. You know, sometimes they'd make some mistakes throwing the ball, obviously, with Talon, but a lot of that was just turnovers and just having a porous defense. So I don't know that necessarily man for man they're going to be as talented on offense as they were, but hopefully they can protect the ball. That has been the mantra all camp. Own the ball. You hear them say it all the time. And if they can do that, if they can protect, you know, the ball and, you know, play well on special teams, not be a big penalty team, then they'll give themselves a chance in some games to possibly get back to bowl contention again. So I don't know where I got off on that, but really I was just talking about wide receivers, and I think that's the area where they can be better than last year. You know, they have C.J. Brown back, Ismail C.C. coming back from the injury. Those are your starters with Chris Marshall. Your next guys up, Jamari Hawkins, probably in the slot. Donovan Faupel, who had like 61 catches for New Mexico State last year, and Courtney Crutchfield. And then, you know, you're talking, where does Antonio Jordan fit in? Where does Jelani Watkins, Monte Harrison, who's actually worked a little bit of tight end also. But I think it's a good group. I mean, you're talking about trying to get some guys in. You know, DeQueen Prevost in a lot of years as a freshman would play, and I don't know that there's really even room. So I think there's a good number of quality wide receivers on this team. The offensive line, are they going to be better or worse than last year? Probably, you know, give or take one way or the other, probably somewhat comparable. You know, they've got some youth with Kavion Broussard, who's an athlete at left tackle, and Bryant Williams, who's a very experienced guy at right tackle. And then on the interior, you're talking about a little bit more, you know, continuity, I guess. You've got Malachi Breland, a multi-year starter at Memphis, who is an SEC player. I really like Malachi Breland. Kobe Branham at right guard, and then at center, your return Caden Kittler. You've got Cash Courtney is probably your swing guy at the guard and tackle spots, and then probably Adam Hawks, maybe Josiah Clemens, who's got a really bright future also as a swing tackle. Defense, I've made no bones about it. I like the looks of this defensive line so much. I just think that there are so many bodies there. You can just roll guys in and out, and that was a luxury that they didn't have last year. You know, when I think about Carlin Jones and Hunter Osborne, Zadavian Sims, Quincy Rhodes, of course, you know, Antonio Sandal Bascom is a guy that I think we could be talking a lot about coming soon. See if I can get through this gate here without hopping over it. And then, yeah, I'm gonna have to go around. So then, you know, that doesn't even mention like Keandre Johnson and Reginald Vaughn and Caleb Bell, you know, some of these other second-year guys, Trent Sellers, that are really impressive. Danny Bill, who's a true freshman, I mean, he's probably going to get in there. But the thing is, like, I'm naming a bunch of guys, and I've said this before, one 6'3", 315 guy after another. And, you know, Arkansas hasn't had that kind of depth at that position in a while. Linebacker, Bradley Shaw, Jaquavian Smith, unquestioned starters at linebacker. And then Kamori House as your star. And then on the other side at the jack spot, you're going to have probably Steven Souls, but you've also got Charlie Collins. You've got Jamonte Waller. So they've got some numbers there. At linebacker, your backup probably Wyatt Simmons, Phoenix Jackson. Those are probably your top two backups. So not just a ton of depth, I guess, at linebacker, but maybe a solid two deep. You also got Ben Bogle in there, Jeremy Evans. You know, a lot of veteran players, which I think is, I don't know, unique to past years. Here's the touchdown club. The interview room is over there. And then you got media in here working still. Hey, if you guys are looking to start a new project, maybe you're looking for you want a new deck, or you know, whether it's, you know, a piece of property, your backyard, your home, look at our friends over at Sutherlands to manage your project. A new deck, privacy fence, roof. Maybe you want one of those luxurious Onyx walk-in showers. Wouldn't that be nice? But from project to completion, they'll be with you the entire way. Huge Razorback fans. So support them, they support us. And if you can dream it, they can build it. And don't forget about their custom barn program also. All right, we're gonna hit this elevator. Secondary. I've said before that safety concerns me a little bit just because of the overall depth. Like if you have to pick one area out that you're like, oh no. I would say safety. I like Christian Harrison a lot. I think he's a really good player. But I just worry about the numbers after. And then we're talking Miguel Mitchell, you know, who we saw last year. Is he going to be a better player for him? I'm calling 911. I'm calling 911 right now, and it won't stop. Cancel. There we go. My watch has been on the fritz. So, there we go. All right, don't come after me. So, Miguel Mitchell, Christian Harrison are likely your starters at the safety spots. You've got Kiari McGlure and some others battling there, I think, but those are probably your top rotational and your starting guys. You've also got Songbae Genu, if I'm even saying that right. Tay Lockett is a freshman. Now, they've got some promising freshmen. Tay Lockett at safety, I'm not a big fan of freshman safeties, and I'm not saying like he should play a whole lot just yet, but I think he's a guy to keep your eye on. And Brandon Ford, I mean, the other day, Brandon Ford had a TFL for -1 yard. He had a pass breakup and then an interception all consecutively. And then a couple of days ago, Tay Lockett had an interception on KJ Jackson in the end zone, where I was just watching it thinking like, okay, Ismail Cece's wide open. Tay Lockett comes out of nowhere and picks it off at the 1 yard line. So maybe some promising young freshmen to keep your eye on there in the secondary. And, you know, DBs, especially at cornerback, can often play as freshmen. So cornerbacks, Joker Johnson's definitely a starter for you, probably at the right corner spot. And it seems like Shelton Lewis has kind of taken that next spot at the left corner, although Lakai Rowland's probably your third guy. It's interesting because Lakai was starting pretty much all spring and Shelton Lewis was a backup, and now it's been Shelton Lewis with Lakai behind him. But you've got those guys. You've got DJ Harrison, who they like, Brandon Ford, who I mentioned. I think he'll play for him definitely. So the point of all this is saying, and I'm not going to get into too much special teams. I mean, I've watched a little bit of Gavin Rush at punter and Max Gilbert at kicker and stuff. But the point of all this that I'm saying, like when I look out at this team, I see a team that is good enough personnel-wise to get to a bowl game if they have quarterback play. And the thing with really good Arkansas teams in the past is they have always, if they're going to be like really good, they've had dynamic play at quarterback. And so that is the area that concerns me more than anything else. Like I feel like personnel-wise, if they're good enough on special teams, penalties, turnovers, then they should be able to get to a bowl game if they can get decent quarterback play. We're going to see a lot of short throws. Like if you don't like throws to the sideline over and over again, then you may not like watching Arkansas, because it's going to be a lot of screens to running backs and wide receivers, a lot of swing passes, throws to the flats, but also things that can get a quarterback that maybe who doesn't have all the confidence in the world, or maybe needs to ease his way into a game, ways for him to get more comfortable out there. So if Arkansas can have some success throwing the ball, and they'll RPO and a lot of that kind of stuff too, and KJ does give you a little more with his legs also, which also could have been a deciding factor in this quarterback battle. But if they can do those things, then Arkansas can get back to a bowl game, guys. Like I get so tired of looking at all the comments, everything I post, and I'm right there too, because I'm super negative about it too. As I'm saying all this stuff, and I'm saying if they can do this and that, but I'm still thinking they're going to win like 4 games. So I'm not like predicting them to have success. I just have the hope that they can prove me wrong. That's what I'm looking for. Like, go out and prove me wrong. So I went swimming and I wore my watch the other day, and ever since then it's just going absolutely berserk and keeps trying to call emergency services. So I'm sure my wife's getting blown up right now. Your husband's in trouble. But I'm not. I'm safe out here in the north end zone in the pit of Razorback Stadium. So what else is there to say, guys? Like, you never know how this season is going to play out. If you go back and look at what was the over-under is like 4.5 wins for Arkansas this year. And I know a lot of Arkansas fans are so dejected. They're just like, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. 2-10 incoming. That's what I see on just about every single thing I post. Ryan Silverfield, Chad Morris 2.0, and Ron Roberts is John Chavis 2.0. I mean, that's pretty much everything. And like every video, I've seen high school wide receivers my nephew can run better than that, just tearing them down. And it just sucks that it's gotten to that, but I understand why, obviously, when you keep losing games. I went back and looked like over the last 14 years, the over-under, Arkansas at 4.5 this year, 72% of the time in the last 14 years, Arkansas, the under has hit. 72% of the time, the under has hit. 72% of the time, even when they hadn't been picked to do crap, they have underwhelmed. They have gone below expectations. I think that's wild to think about. At some point, that's got to balance back out, right? You got to have some balance. So it's 4.5 wins. I'm still going with 4 wins after all this. My main reasoning for that is I just don't know at quarterback. I don't think the coaches know at quarterback. And I know this is like getting repetitive and we need a game so I can talk about something else instead of saying the same thing over and over again. But you just don't know what you have at quarterback. And I use the Felipe Franks example all the time. Like, I'm sure Felipe looked dynamic in practice, and Kyle Trask probably didn't look that great. And then Felipe gets hurt and Kyle Trask comes in, and it's like, oh, well, this guy's really good. Like, good enough to lead us to the SEC championship game, which he did. So, like, I don't know. I just think it's such a difficult position to evaluate. And I think everything that we're hoping for, and that's really just Arkansas getting back to bowl eligibility, getting back to not embarrassing us, getting us back to where we're waking up in the morning and we're just going, dun, 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 dun. Hogs got a chance today. They got a chance today, like walking around with your chest poked out, feeling good about the Hogs, even if they don't win, still feeling like they could shock you at any moment. They're gonna beat somebody they shouldn't beat. They may lose to somebody they shouldn't lose to, but they're gonna beat somebody they shouldn't beat. Like, let's get back to something like that. So anyway, that's it. Appreciate you guys for hopping on today for a quick walk and talk. But that's the last open practice, what I watched today. We had 35 minutes of availability. That was the last open practice. So yeah, again, check out our friends over at Sutherlands, 4 locations in Arkansas, 1-800-66-BARNS. Be sure to check out their custom barn program. And yeah, support them because they support the Razorbacks and they support what we do here on Hog Sports. All right, everybody, this has been Trey Biddy with hogsports.com. First walk and talk in the books. We'll catch you next time.